everybody, and welcome to WTS 258. My name is Danny Murray.
And I'm Graham American. It's definitely 258, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just literally checking that. Yeah, 258. Yeah. Right. There's a good chance I misnumbered a podcast we did, and I'll look. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, very professional. We'll figure it out.
Edit.
The 258th episode spectacular. Here we go.
Exactly. Here we go.
Yeah, Mero, who is that person talking there, Graham American? Please, if you wouldn't mind introducing.
Is the amazing news correspondent for Virgin Media News. He's unfortunately a Bohemian season ticket holder. It's Richard Chambers, because unfortunately it's two Bohs versus one now. Well, you're a fake Bohs fan.
There's no such thing as fake Bohs fans. No such thing.
If Richard Chambers, you're in the league. Lads, thank you so much. Delighted to be here.
Thank you for agreeing to talk to two absolute wafflers and spoofers. It's very kind of you, because you're a very, very serious news person. And as we know, nothing moved during the pandemic without your say-so. It was...
well, my powers are waning now. Like, I have no control. Like, I don't know what to do anymore. No, I suppose, like, that's sort of the end of the whole emergency phase of COVID here. It's kind of strange in a way, because like you are kind of back to it is in a way like setting a clock back 2 years. You know, like all the work stuff, like work was all one way for 2 years, and it was all insane, and it was all hours, and in the same way you had a very small life as well, because it was like you'd go to the Department of Health or you'd go to government buildings, and like you'd see the same people every day. Like the guys on the door at the Department of Health, who I love, absolutely brilliant guys working in ground staff and the HSE headquarters, love them, amazing lads as well. And then just like all of a sudden, it's just like, cover Ukraine there and do a bit on cost of living, and
it just ends on a random Friday afternoon.
Kind of mad. It is actually. I'm still like, I think I'll take some time probably to process that day, you know.
Yeah.
Because it like there was a feeling for a couple of days beforehand. It was like, this is coming. This is coming. And like I was talking to people on Neffet who are familiar with how Tony Houlihan was looking at it, and they were like, lads, this is definitely going proper, loose, open everything sort of thing. And I was like, really? Is that? But like, it didn't feel like people. It did feel like it was a bit of a surprise still in the end for a lot of people. Like, and it was just a mad day. And then it was just like you wake up the next morning and you're kind of like, "Is that a dream? Was it? Did that happen?" Crazy, yeah. So it's been a while. 2 years. So it's so weird, I suppose, to be. We're not fully like out of that, but just in a different spot of it entirely, where it feels more like 2019 than it does 2022 again, you know?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's really, really odd, because like I'm still not full. Like we're still recording these podcasts over Zoom as opposed to doing that in face to face. I'm still not really going back into my office or anything like that anytime soon. Like there's talk of it happening and all this kind of stuff, but at the same time, it's that kind of like, is it actually all right to do it? Can we actually do it? Can we, can I go for the coffee and not have to worry about, like, the person sitting now shoulder to shoulder with me, whereas, just 3 weeks ago they were sitting fucking opposite the side of the shop to me. It's just, it's odd, like, flick of a switch and here we are.
Yeah, it is. And like, you get used to it. You get used to that whole situation. It's the most abnormal thing in the world. We're all social animals, and we're all like we're Irish. Like, we all jump in for like passing the shoulder and hugs and all that sort of stuff, and getting into way too close into each other's personal space all of the time.
Leaning into people's selfies just cause. Like,
exactly. Like, I mean, we can do this again. This is unbelievable. Yeah. But like, you do kind of get used to all that, and like I know a lot of people who I'm like close friends with and family who would still be vulnerable to COVID, and they are like quite sketchy about it, I suppose, with the idea of like, going full on back into the office, or just like everything just being like sort of back to fully to normal, which I can totally understand. Like you feel like there's all these things and all these changes in the country to make people safer, and then you just sort of just go one day, right, that switches off and everybody's back to everything. It's like a head spinning change for anybody. So people who are concerned about it, like that's going to be a huge one for them. But I just wonder. I suppose like I spent not so much time. That's the saddest thing ever. But I spent a lot of time sort of thinking about like what permanently changes after this, like all that sort of stuff. Like you mentioned,
yes,
like I'm not back into the office yet and stuff like that. Like how much will people be back into the office? How much will people get more time at home with their families, not having to sit in the car commuting for like a couple of hours every day sometimes for some people. Like all that sort of stuff fascinates me. Like how much of like a return to normal is actually going to happen, and how much are we going to just learn from different bits and be like, Jesus, you know what? The stuff we can learn from all that and sort of make stuff a little bit better. Because we should try and keep on making things better, because that's kind of what we're meant to do.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's like I remember in work, like that. Not me personally, but other people were asking bosses, couldn't they work from home? This before any COVID, can I work from home 3 days a week? And the boss is like, no, absolutely not. No, it's not fair. You have to come in 5 days a week. And, they're always trying to push for maybe working from home for some part of the week. And then all of a sudden, when this happens, the memo comes out from the big bosses, everyone, no questions asked, work from home. And he's kind of now saying to his boss, oh, I thought I couldn't work from home, and now it's like, will we go back? Like my job started going back to the office on the 7th of February, and I still haven't returned yet. Now, I work 7 to 3, so I don't know if I will go back, or if I'll go back, will it be in the summer when it's a bit brighter and it's a bit, so yeah, it is going to be interesting, because I even know the current situation with my office is that you have to fill out a questionnaire and you have to get 100% on the questionnaire in regards to where companies' reaction to COVID.
You'd be fluffing the answers, wouldn't you?
Big time. Big time.
What did I get?
But it's multiple choice, like
87 this time.
It's multiple choice, and it's questions like how on this date, what enactment did the company bring in? Was it A, B, C? It's 10 questions.
Never heard anything of that before. Never heard that before.
That seems a bit heavy. Like, it's not just the kind of like, do you wash your hands after going to the jacks or not? Kind of. That's on what date has a particular rule being brought?
That's like a riddle to keep you out. Like,
yeah. It's 10 questions.
If you answer me these questions 3, we'll let you in. Like, some wizard on a bridge meets you on the way in.
They brought in a phone app as well where you pick where you sit. So
prior place to has COVID, that actually as well. You have to book if you're going in. You have to book a desk now. Yeah.
So prior to COVID, you were sitting with your team and what department you worked with. Now it's just look at the draw. You could be sitting with anybody.
Yeah.
So it's mad about how much. Like, will we go back to normal, or will we go back to where we were pre-COVID? And
we'll move on from COVID in a minute. But before we do, because despite the fact that you were obviously running the country according to Twitter, and people, nothing moved, Richard.
Yourself and Gav Riley. I
was going to say yourself, Gav Riley, and Sarah King. We're on the screens 24/7, making sure that we all knew what we could and could not do, and at what time of the day we could and could not do it. You found time to write a book in the middle of all this.
Yeah. What point did you say to yourself you were going to write a book?
I was asked. It wasn't too far off this time last year. Probably about January 21. And I got a message on Instagram from HarperCollins, the publishers, and they were like, "Oh, if you want to chat about writing a book, let us know." And I was like I thought about it beforehand, before I got that message, and I was thinking, "There's no way I have time to do anything like this. This is like, work is so full on. You could be working 20 hours some days in the middle of this pandemic. Like, when are you going to write a book?" But then I just had a conversation about it, and I was like, "Look, I may never ever get a chance to write a book again. And I think I do have a good perspective on this, so I think I can do it. And it might be, a worthwhile thing to do, because, and like, it was just the way I thought about it when I was doing it. I was kind of like, I need to put a spotlight onto different things, which I think might just might get missed if I don't do it. Like things like, the experience of frontliners. I thought it would be a great honor to document that. So I absolutely would love to do that. So that was a big thing for me. Like, the experiences of people who lost loved ones. That's a huge privilege for people to share those sort of stories with you. Like, that's really incredibly difficult things for people to share with people they don't know or don't know particularly well. So to be able to sort of help them remember their lost ones That was huge for me. All that sort of stuff. And I was like, okay, that would be a really good use of time if I could find time to do it. So finding time was the next thing. And that meant just get up at 5 o'clock every morning, put on a coffee, and try and write for an hour every morning. And just like, you can't worry what you're writing if you're going to try and do something like that. You just kind of have to sit there and it's like, right, I have an hour, just go. So just jab away at the keyboard. It's best to say typewriter as if I was in the 1950s. Like, but like, you just kind of have to just go at it, and you'll fix it and you'll make it good afterwards. Like the toughest thing time-wise, the writing thing, actually, just by having that routine of getting up super early, just doing it, that became fine. The harder bit then was trying to sort of fit in interviews, because you had to interview everybody. So like every minister, everyone I could get on NEFIT, HSE, doctors, nurses, just people's personal stories. And you're just like, you're trying to work around like personal schedules of like the Taoiseach and stuff like that for interviews and stuff. And it's like, oh my God, I can't do this. You'd have them cancelling on you some days, and you flipped your whole schedule for a week to try and fit them in. And they'd cancel on you and you're like, oh my God, this is never going to happen. So that was all the logistics and the tiny stuff like that. That becomes the difficult bit of it. But writing then just became, all right, I know I'm going to have an hour every morning, and I might have a bit of energy in the evening to go back at it again. So like, you can sort of plan that. Everything else is just, you're at the mercy of calendars and schedules, which are utterly meaningless, really. Like, not worth the paper they're written on.
Was the process enjoyable?
I did get into a phase where I enjoyed it. There were times where it was the most miserable thing, and I never thought it would be done. And like, you're sitting there, oh God, just sifting through hours and hours and hours of interviews, because you have to be super thorough. You want to get this accurate. You need this to be right. So I remember looking at my phone and my laptop at one point, and I was sort of collating like how many different hours of interviews there was, and I was like, this is a big job for one person to do. But like, I like, as I was coming towards the end of it, I was like, okay, I think I have something here. I think I have something which speaks to what Ireland was like in this really unique period of time, this pretty awful period of time. And I think it's something that I can be proud of when it's done. But then actually the toughest part I found was when the book was coming out. Like, I found that period when like, it was launched the 28th of October. I remember like there was press and publicity and interviews and all that sort of stuff around that. But like, the book just launched, and I was like waiting to hear how people received it. Like, the reviews were all good, so like, that's fine, that's brilliant, and like, I'm honored by that and all that sort of stuff. But like, I hadn't heard too much from people whose personal stories I told it. So people who lost loved ones, healthcare workers, I hadn't heard from them yet. So really, the time from when the book came out, the first sort of 2 weeks after that period, were like just some of the worst anxiety. Like, worst anxiety, because you're kind of like, Jesus, I hope they're okay with it, and I hope that they thought that was accurate and good and all that sort of stuff, and that I did their loved one justice. And I just couldn't stop. Didn't sleep at all after that period, because like, some people obviously will talk about, oh Jesus, is anybody in the Department of Health talking to you anymore? What about Stephen Donnelly? All that sort of stuff, like, And I'm like, I don't care what they say about it, Like, I couldn't care. It's not my job for them to be pleased with this. They're in the public eye. Their performance needs to be analysed in this time of pandemic and, national state of emergency. It's the other people who had this visited upon them who didn't ask for this. They didn't sign up for their loved ones to get COVID and become seriously ill. They didn't sign up to deal with the pandemic when they're working in a hospital. So those were the people who I worried about. And that it was huge worry, but then in the end, everything was great. And the reception I got from people whose stories I got to tell people was amazing. That was probably the most rewarding thing of it, really.
You probably got some of that feedback around Christmas time as well, though, because people were buying your book for Christmas.
Yeah, there was, and it was funny because some people, like, you'd get some WhatsApps from people like, who got around to reading it. Some people who were interviewed in the book were like, I'm not reading it. I just don't want to read it. I'll be paranoid about how it's going to come across or whatever. But then they did, and they texted and stuff like that. I bumped into a few people, like some of the doctors I interviewed in the book. I just happened to bump into them, and they're like, Jesus, I only got around to reading the book. I was going to text you, but it's been so busy, because obviously Chris went to the hospital, like, you know, and they were like, oh, this is brilliant and all that sort of stuff. I was getting some slagging from doctors in other hospitals, which is just the most, like, it's the most hospital thing in the world. Like, doctors are absolute bastards to each other. And they'd be like, so we'd be chatting to, obviously I focused on the Mater. And like, there were doctors in Vincent's and stuff like that, slagging lads in the Mater, saying, Jesus, swear you were the only place in Ireland that had COVID, like, you know. No, it's great. No, I have to say, the way people received it and responded to it was brilliant. But it's just an honour to be able to sort of just to tell those sort of stories. Like,
it's one I think that even in a couple of years' time, if people pick it up, because it'll serve as a little bit of a time capsule towards that kind of snapshot, a moment in time. Because look, as you said, we're not out of it; it's not over. But like, you know, we're heading that direction. But yeah, a state of emergency. Ireland during the COVID crisis. I think that's the correct title. I'm doing you justice, I hope there. But yeah, it's out, lads, and it is, as I said, I got, as you said, it launched in October. I got given it for my birthday, and I haven't been able to bring these just purely because I'm like, we've been living
this. We've
been living it. I need to have a little bit of time to decompress because it's been so fucking just, you know. But it definitely is one that I think when I do pick it up, and especially there you're saying like the personal accounts from people, especially, I think that's because Ireland is, isn't it? It's all about everybody knows somebody who knows somebody, and then as a result of that, you know. So, well, congratulations on it anyway, man.
Thanks, man.
Definitely a well endeavoured thing. But enough of COVID chat.
Thank you. Good.
I saw on the Twitter machine you had a bit of fun about Minsters on Insta.
Oh, Jesus.
What the fuck's going on, man?
Is this the work of Ivan Yates?
No, it's not. Like, this is interesting because I was querying who does this stuff. Like, Fianna Fáil had a thing last year where they had a report into how they didn't do well in the 2020 election, and one of the reasons they came up with in the report was we're bad at social media. And so they go around to 2022.
What?
And you see, all right, well, clearly we must have learned the lessons by now. And then you see Minsters on Insta. And it's like nobody in Ireland pronounces that word Minsta. Like,
no.
Like, nobody does. Minsters on Instas and FOMO no mo.
Yeah.
Stop! I couldn't stop cringing.
It really is like a bunch of kind of 40-something-year-old GAA dads have picked up social media for the first time and said, hang on, I think I have it, hang on, and they're typing one finger, you know, and then
that's it.
What do you think, lads? And
this will be good.
We've nailed it.
Yeah, class. People have watched this show in the last 10 years. So like, but like, I was having a conversation with somebody about this today, and they were saying, is this the famous shit posting, like that this is intentionally bad, that people will share it as everybody did? And I was like, no, that wouldn't work here anyway. Like, it wouldn't be like, oh, no, you're not going to be like, okay, 10 people see this horrendously stupid video, and like one person says, geez, they're great gas. I'm into them now. I'm into these lads, these Minsters on Insta. Nobody thinks like that in Ireland. People in Ireland are like, Jesus, there's some ticks there with that video, like, you know, like that's how I'd react to that. I just think it's bad. Like, this isn't new either. Like,
no.
Like, I mean, how you've videos and stuff like that on social media, like, this is going on like 15 years. You've had 15 years to get a plan on this and how to do social media. And I just find this,
I think part of it as well, I think post that election, I think Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, their cages were rattled because of the support of Sinn Féin. And let's face it, I think Sinn Féin do good social media. The reaction of Fine Gael to the post-election was the Richard Bruton swimming videos and
he was making fucking brown bread and all sorts, wasn't he?
Yeah, like,
he's a good baker and a good cook by all accounts.
Yeah, and he has a six-pack, but like,
the abs was the most surprising thing.
Fairness, that was like,
the voters want to see that.
I mean, I'm sure Mrs. Bruton wanted to see it. Like, you know, I mean, like, impressive rack on that.
Do you think that this is their reaction and this is their, well, you know?
Yeah, like, to a certain extent, it is. Like, obviously, like, they'll see the election and they'll say, oh, well, Sinn Féin and the left did had younger people, and they had younger people who were better on social. And we need to get better at this. We need to work on this. And it was interesting. Like, I remember around the election and stuff, like some of the stuff, like there was definitely money being pumped into social media, particularly by Fine Gael. Like they had that sort of really polished videos and all that sort of stuff. But that doesn't really, I don't know if that does it for people. People don't respond to, well, here's an ad of like, capital investments and sporting projects around, Longford and stuff like that. Like, I mean, I don't know if that doesn't move the needle. No. Like it's so interesting to see how that's going to go. And then you saw, like, I mean, there wasn't it in the Dublin Bay South by-election, and it was really interesting because your man James Gagan, who's running for Fine Gael, and he did some of the video sort of stuff, but then on polling day itself, there was a few tweets from him, and they were retweeted and sort of blared out by Fine Gael about like, oh, Sinn Féin is in danger of taking this seat. Our turnout is low. We need to drive it up. Put him in to keep him out. That sort of stuff. And I was like, Jesus, this is interesting. Like, this is interesting because this is a sort of a tactic which we haven't seen in Ireland for a good long time. Like, it goes back to the old Civil War politics. Yeah. The whole Cumann na Gael and the communists are voting for Fianna Fáil and all that sort of stuff. Like, that's what it sort of reminds me of. And it is kind of an American style of politics as well, which is just interesting to see it sneak in. I think people didn't respond well to that because people were like, "Geez, this is very juvenile. I don't know if this is the path of just like our opponents are our enemies." Like, it's not what I don't want. I hate to see that. I hate to see that.
It is the way American politics, and I suppose I think the start of that was when the RTE attempted to do the debate with just Micheál Martin and Leo Varadkar, where it was pitting, the way they do, say, Biden against Trump, and and we're not like that. We don't have that type of politics. I mean, Virgin Media covered one of the best debates of the election, and I think Richard Boyd Barrett he shined in that debate. I think it was in Cork, where a lot of all the leaders were on it. I think
I do remember that one. Yeah, there was one in. Yeah, I think it was in Cork, wasn't it?
I think it was in Cork, but I mean, I think there is a risk of going down the American route where people think that we only have two leaders or two parties and stuff like that. And I think as well, though, people can see right through that now. And I think most recently with the Claire Byrne Rise of Sinn Féin special, that to me was just bonkers. I mean, I tried to watch that as a kind of, okay, let's see what they're going to try. But I'd listened to Claire Byrne that morning, and the wording of it suggested me to be a bit suspicious about it. And then when you watch it, you're kind of going, what's the point here? What was the point in it? Like, are we going to see next week Claire Byrne, Fianna Fáil, the recession years? Like, what did they do wrong in the recession? It's mad.
It was interesting, and I think you're right on the point that people can see through it, and people don't. It does jar with people when they see this. Like, there was definitely a miscalculation by a lot of people in the media before the last election. They thought it was going to be Fianna Fáil versus Fine Gael, and the Sinn Féin surge completely caught everybody out. Like, there's no doubt about that. I think that the media maybe is probably still trying to catch up to that. Like, it was interesting to see that. It was an interesting program, and I think Claire Byrne is an amazing broadcaster. She's one of the best in the business we have in this country. Amazing interviewer as well. It was interesting to see that format, and I think it'll be interesting to see if that does carry out. Because I do think the point you're making there, Meryl, like about like, are we going to see more of this targeted, particularly just on individual parties? Like, I'd say the response to people in the Claire Byrne show would say is that, well, when we're talking about government housing policy not working, aren't we talking about what the government parties are doing then? So, like, when we're talking about people in mortgage arrears, or people who can't afford to get to buy a house, or people can't afford rent up to record levels, isn't that indirectly talking about the government parties, because they're the ones who are controlling the policies which are meant to be addressing this? So in a way, they are talking about policies and failures of the government as it stands. So I'd say that would probably be the fairest way. If you were going to be fair to the Claire Byrne show, I'd say that's probably a way of looking at it. But interesting. It just wasn't really my cup of tea now, I have to say. Like, yeah,
it just felt like they were telling us not to vote for. Do you know?
Yeah, I would say that. Like, I mean, I could see the way I heard the build up of the show as well, and I was kind of like, look, Sinn Féin are surging to the polls. This is a record high. They've never been here before. Like, this is different. It does flip the chessboard of where Irish politics has been, where it's traditionally just this crowd or that crowd, and all the rest just make up the numbers to go into coalition. Like, that's not going to be how it is in the next election. We can plainly see that Sinn Féin is clearly the most individually the most popular party in the state by a 9-point margin. The last poll there of the weekend. So obviously Sinn Féin are going to have to be, like they'll probably have first crack at forming the next government. So probably it is worth saying, all right, well, what's this? How the Sinn Féin government, if it's going to run it, how's it going to look? I don't know. I can understand strong feeling about how that show was made and how it looked on the night and all that sort of stuff. It's tough to make these programs.
Absolutely.
I think it's a weird one in the sense of I can see why people are kind of like, what are RTE doing, or what are they thinking on the Claiborne show doing that, and are they going to do the same? But then I look at some of the contributors and I kind of went, hang on, they've pulled Eddie Hobbs out of wherever Eddie Hobbs has been for the last few years, and your man, the property developer's name has gone from your head now, and I'm kind of like,
Flynn, was it?
Yeah, and I'm like, these aren't exactly people who are going to resonate with, a lot of the audience. They're not exactly. So it's kind of a weird one in the sense of, for want of a nicer way of putting it, the contributors that they chose to kind of back up this kind of thing of why you wouldn't vote for Sinn Féin weren't exactly the strongest contributors you could get to make that argument and resonate with people.
It was interesting, though, to be able to see on the other side of that, people like Martin Ward were getting in there. Tony Groves, of course, as well, was on.
Tony fact-check Groves.
Yeah, he got a huge reception. Like that went mega viral, his contribution on the night. So, like, you have to sort of take things in the round. Like, there was clearly, like, there's voices there on the left who people mightn't have heard before on RTE. Definitely haven't. And I do know from chatting to some people in current affairs, like, they were like, Jesus, yeah, there's some voices I hadn't heard before. They're probably going to be seen a lot more now in the run up to whenever the next election might be. I would
say the Tortoise Shack downloads are flying this week.
Yeah, big week on the Shack, I'd say. Yeah, but no, like, I mean, this is the thing. We do need to have like the media landscape needs to be diverse, like, as well. It is healthy that we have these, like, even like yourselves and other like independent podcasts and broadcasters where we can talk about, what the media does and what what politics is like, and just coming at it from different angles. Like, that's great that we do have that, because we didn't always have that. And we haven't been well served when we haven't had that. Like, going even to, like, I think we had that before the last election, but we didn't have it like maybe 2 elections previous or whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, it's going to be interesting to see how it all sort of pans out that way.
I'm stuck on this notion of Irish politics becoming like American politics, and it's just needs to saying it there, and I'm kind of saying there's a part of me that would almost, just for entertainment's sake, nothing more than entertainment's sake, would like to almost see more of that kind of, because America, the one thing America does, and it's a basket case, absolutely, but this reactionary politics between candidates is gold entertainment. Like, you've seen it with Trump and Hillary, you've seen it with, even going Clinton and Bush back in the day. Lyndon B. Johnson was amazing at it in the 60s. Like, do you know what I mean? I can't remember what the whole thing was. I can't remember the name of the person who was running against him, but he was that whole thing of like virtue and church and all that kind of stuff. And his campaign slogan was, "In your heart, he's right." It's really, sent, and and Lyndon B. Johnson in his first show, he goes, "What's the slogan?" And they're like, in your heart, he's right. And he's like, in my guts, I know he's nuts. Moving on. And that was it. You know what I mean? So, like, it's that kind of reactionary thing. And I don't think Ireland possibly has those kind of personalities, but there's something about that just fever pitch that America gets when it comes to election campaign, and that I kind of want to see.
Yeah, but you're laughing at them,
Oh yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying. Purely entertainment. I'm not saying, like, you know what I mean? Purely entertainment value. Like,
I don't want to see our lads going down, our men and women going down that road.
You'd worry, like, I mean, because I think that we have, like, it is interesting. We just see, like, we've tons more parties who, like, there's so much choice there for people to vote into, like, so many different groupings and stuff now. And, like, we think, like, if you looked at it from the outside, you're like, geez, we have a very sort of Scandinavian sort of lovely, like sort of, a rainbow sort of assortment of different parties to stick your name into. And you see some of the stuff that's happened in politics over the last couple of years, and you're like, oh, yeah, maybe we are closer to the States in some ways. Like, so, like, I mean, yeah, the quality of stuff from the Dáil in recent years, I think, has been pretty poor as well. Like, you'd have, like, I'm sure you can pick out yourselves different bits of shouting and roaring and just grandstanding that happens. Like, I don't know if that. I don't know.
It's not productive, is it?
No, and you can get disillusioned with it. Like, you can, like, even as a sort of a journalist and sort of an impartial bystander and sort of just observer of this stuff, you can just be like, oh man, what are we learning here? What are we learning here when we all just started shouting over each other? Like, there's problems here which we should all be working together to fix. That's the worst thing. That's the worst thing I find about it, is just it's this point a finger and just be like, you guys stink. We do something. We don't tell you what we do differently. But like, you guys just stink. We're not going to work together on you, and like that, all this sort of stuff. And it's just like, it's just boring. People are bored of it. And it goes both ways. You'll get it from Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil saying, "Oh, Sinn Féin, what have you done, in the north," and stuff like that. And it just gets.
Yeah, I do find that type of question disingenuous at times as well. Like, particularly to Air voters, because I don't think there is a correlation. I don't think there's a fair correlation with that, considering the buck stops at Westminster. Like,
yeah, no, that's a point. Yeah, it definitely is. And obviously you have the whole power sharing set up there as well. So like, I mean, it's a different system. It is just a different system. So maybe it isn't the fairest thing to sort of, to sort of draw the line between. But like, obviously, if Sinn Féin has a policy of X in the north, it is probably worthy of comment on it. But it's not like, that can't just be the number one defense of the government's like housing policies or whatever like that. It's just, well, you guys did this. Let's like, come on, we need to debate the merits of policies, which is kind of what we just don't do anymore. It doesn't. It becomes a little bit boo, all that sort of stuff. It has that. It's becoming more. Maybe it's becoming less like the whole US thing. It's becoming more like Westminster when you see just the way and all that sort of stuff. That's what it reminds me of more these days. Like,
where did that even originate from?
I don't know, but it's just like, that's like one of the oldest parliamentary democracies in the world. And there was like guys beside Boris Johnson there a couple of weeks ago, just like going red in the face, going, yeah. And I was like,
what the fuck? Like,
what are you doing? What are you doing? There's no decorum there. Like, people are paying you to represent them.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there just like, as if you were on the terraces of Daly Mount Park or Richmond Park, just like roaring at a ref. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's the same thing.
I always thought that was just spitting image. I would have saw a spitting image footage of spitting image as a kid before I saw footage of the House of Commons. And then when you're kind of growing up and you're getting involved in activism or politics or whatever, and then you're seeing footage of the House of Commons and you're kind of going, oh no, the spitting image was actually taking the piss out of these. This is real life. What are they at?
I know, man. It's mad. It's kind of depressing. Like,
it is depressing.
Like we need to get better. Like, we just need to get better. And I do think that there are people like, this is the thing. Like, I mean, I was just saying, when you see this sort of like, when you see just crap politics and shouting and roaring and the usual crap and the stuff that people get online as well, then like, it's putting off really talented people and people who might consider putting themselves forward in an election. And like, we do have a problem in the country in terms of representation. Like, we don't have a really equal, or the Dáil doesn't look like what Ireland looks like. And that shouldn't be the case. The Parliament should always look like what the public looks like, especially when we have like multiple seats for every constituency. There's no excuse for the Dáil not to look like representative of the country. I just find that when we have all of this stuff and this, like, it just looks like a hostile environment, and it just doesn't look like, if you're really interested in making your town, your county, your country a better place, if you look at the Dáil, do you think you're going to get it done there? Do you know what I mean? Do you see like, oh, this looks like the environment where we can really affect some real change, and we're going to fix the climate crisis, and we're going to do this, that, and the other, as opposed to what we see now, which is just bad. It is just bad. It is just bad. And it's like, sometimes I do know there's some really talented people in the Dáil, and they're really good debaters, and they all care really a lot. And I'm pretty sure like the absolute vast majority of people in the Dáil do care about, they got into politics for the right reason. But the atmosphere around Leinster House just probably isn't what it should be for what we should be expecting.
It's a bit like young lads who grow up wanting to play football and end up playing at Shamrock Rovers. They just, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Something's gone wrong somewhere.
You gotta aim higher. You gotta aim higher. You gotta have better standards for yourself.
Yeah.
Than playing for that mob. I am really excited. I can't wait now. Like, I mean, we're here. It's the cusp of a new season.
Yeah.
And like, we're back to crowds and stuff. I just can't wait.
Will you get to many games? You've moved now, have you, Richard?
I'm living in town. No, I'm living in town. Like, I'm living in town for the next few months anyway. Right. I can't wait. Yeah, I'm going to our first home game, obviously against Dundalk, which is the 25th of February. And hopefully the schedule will work out better than it has done recently.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years. I just can't wait.
I can't wait.
The first couple of pints before a match, after a match, curry chips, Daily Mountain Park. It's just going to be great. It's just it's just such a mundane thing to be so excited about.
It is 2 weeks out. It's going to be amazing, and especially when we win the league again, and you'll be looking up to us.
Like, I mean, is there any achievement given the financial war chest available to Shamrock Rovers in winning the
war chest?
The war chest is there, long established. Hiring mercenaries, to do your bidding. I'm interested to see how it goes. Like, I mean, Derry obviously have money now as well. Pats obviously have good funding behind them as well. Dundalk, I think they're due a good season. Yeah, I don't worry too much about the end of the table to end of the season. It's just going to be. I just can't wait.
Dundalk are a bit of a basket case, though, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
They were a basket case, but I think people are sleeping on them. I think.
I think they're going under the radar there. Yeah,
and they'll enjoy being under the radar as well. But I think people are sleeping on them. I think Steve O'Donnell's good. I think he's brought in some good signings. I don't think I'd be stunned if they challenge for the league, but the suggestion that they'll finish bottom part of the league, I don't think is accurate.
No way. They'll be challenging for Europe. I think. I do think they'll challenge for Europe. Yeah.
Would you worry about yourselves? Would you worry about Bohs in terms of the amount of players that have left? And they've lost maybe 7 or 8 players, but I've only brought in maybe 3 or 4. I know Jordan Flores is a good signing, but
Jordan Flores will be great. There's some great players we brought in, Junior, of course, as well.
Yeah.
I think the biggest signing we made was keeping Dawson Devoy. It did look like he was guaranteed to go. And it was it did get to a point when I saw the headlines, it was the Indo headline saying, he's off to MK Dons. And Georgie was definitely going as well. Andy Lyons went. Rob Cornwall went. Bucko went. I was like, holy God. These are linchpins. And it got worrying. And I just, you know what? It wasn't even worrying as such. It was actually more you're just looking at this and you're like, if I'm Keith Long and I have to just look at, you're basically sitting at the whiteboard of your team, you're just rubbing off loads of names again at the start of every season. And he's done that so well. And the management team has done that so well every single year to be able to do that. To just be able to okay, we got this player, he'll come in and he'll do that job. That's really hard to do. But to have to do it again, tough position to be in. I'm actually quite confident. I like the players we've brought in. I'm interested to see what they do. I think we're there's some talent there still. Ali Coote, Liam Burt had a good first season. Dawson will be another year in. Jamie Mullins will be great. Yeah, I think we'll be okay.
Top 5 and 2 Dublin derbies. That's what I'm predicting for Bohs.
Yeah, I think I'd be the aim has to be Europe again.
Yeah.
Well, I almost feel in a way we had the European adventure of this season gone was unbelievable. It just feels like a long time ago now, obviously, since everything that happened since then. But also it was just couldn't get fans into games. I know the guys who went over to Greece as well. None of them got into the ground.
That was a mad situation, wasn't it? That whole because they had tickets.
It's UEFA. It's UEFA stuff. All this UEFA stuff is you can't do this, that, and the other. It's grim. So thankfully that'll all be gone. So I mean, if we get there again, and we have to hope that we will, things will be better. Because it was great. That was the last match I was at. Was at our game. Was it? I can't remember. AIK Athens. Was it? Who were we against? Sorry, I'm gonna check that out now. Sorry. Where did we play? Who was that? Greek crowd.
Was it Nicosia?
No. Bohs, Greece, Europa. Who was it? Park. Yeah, sorry,
Park.
Park. Yeah.
That's
Jesus Christ. Yeah, and that was amazing. Like it was I can't remember. It's like, was it even 5,000? 5,000 maybe in the Aviva.
I think it was 8, was it?
5 or 8 was something tiny, like, you know.
Yeah.
But it was still great. It was like we were so starved of matches at that point, and for the quality of that performance was unbelievable. So
I thought they were going to win the cup based on their experiences in Lansdowne Road in the Europa games. But I just thought Pats were too strong on the day.
Pats were definitely the better team on the day, in fairness.
Yeah, I thought Chris Forrester had his way in midfield, and he just ran the show.
I just can't talk about it still. I can't talk about it.
That was the only chance of Europe. So
it was also, I'll actually tell you a story about my day of that day. So like obviously Bohs were in the cup final, but my partner Louise, her family are big GA, huge GA. Her dad, Hawley O'Neill, manages the Clonakilty senior footballers, and like football is life down in West Cork. It's unbelievable, and it just happened that they were making their first run in the Cork Premier Senior Football Championship in many years, and it was amazing to watch that and be sort of part of the sidelines. That such an underdog thing, running through such like favorite teams and beating through teams, and it's like, oh shit, they made it to the final, and I was like, that's brilliant. And I was like, when's the final?
oh no.
And it was the same day, and I was like, oh god, no. And I was like, look, this is my family. This is my family now. And like Louise was like, yeah, I have to come and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, and I was like, yeah, no, I will come on. And then we lost both finals on the day.
Oh, gee.
No. Imagine losing both of them. And it was last minute. It was last minute for Finbars to beat Clon in the final at Parky Queeve, and then obviously it was penalties in Lansdowne.
The things you do for love.
I know. I tell you, this is it.
The agonies you go through,
yeah.
It's just sport as well. Like, why do we love sport? That's what it does.
Listen,
just the hope. It's the hope that kills you.
It's the curry chips, to be honest with you. It's the curry chips to keep you coming back.
Ain't no finer dining, like, you know, in this fair city, like, you know. I loved even Dundalk's video there a couple of weeks ago, or actually it was like last week, I think, for their big new season launch, and it was like new season's here, and they pulled up the shy old chip van just rolled in. And I was like, yeah, this is it. This is it. They know what this season's about. They know what we want to see, like, you know.
Mero, the Rover, you're a part owner, as you say, of Rovers, and your AGM is coming up. Have you had your instructions from Roman Abramovich on how to vote yet, or what's happening?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
All right. So will Rovers now be invading Ukraine? Is this, how does it work? What's the
what's the directive?
We're applying for the Ukrainian League Premier Division, so we can compete over there.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be interesting now. Talent in Ukraine sounds even more terrifying than Putin in Ukraine.
This is the real invasion they want to be worried about. Is this crowd
Danny's fiance is Russian, and they were saying that there was nothing ever to be worried about with Russia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I got that.
I feel reassured. Yeah.
I got that hat off the presses from the Russian in-laws. Yeah, they were like, yeah, nothing to worry about. It's like,
Did you see that? It was a Tipperary Star headline there.
It was brilliant.
I was like, this is great. This is what I love about Ireland. It's like exclusive, war not inevitable. Ukrainian piano teacher tells Tipperary Star Russia might not invade. I was like, this is fantastic. It's a great exclusive to have, like, you know.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we better send that to Joe Biden. Send that to NATO. Like, all right. We might get through this.
There's something beautiful about local Irish media. Like, it's just like all news is local, but there's something when Trump lost the election, and was it the Doonbeg Herald or one? I don't know which one.
I think it was the Clare. It was the Clare Echo. I remember
the Clare Echo. Yeah,
and it was like Doonbeg hotelier loses job or something like that. Yeah.
And it's just genius. Like, it's the little things that just get us all through the day. Like, you know what I mean?
That was a cracker. Like, no, there's been some great stuff. Even like on the local radio, and like I remember, Jesus, anytime you're asked to do anything on local radio, I love it. Like, you just can't predict the questions. Like, I remember, like, there's one time I went on Tip FM. I was over in Scotland. I was doing the independence referendum there, and obviously they voted to stay as part of the UK. And I think it was the first question. I'd done like a load of local media interviews, and the first question from the lad on Tip FM was, "So are the Scots all cowards? Is it? Is that what they are?" And I was like, "Well, it's a bit more complicated than that, maybe. Like, they probably wouldn't see it as that. Like, they picked what they wanted to do." And I said, "Oh, they're cowards. They're not like us. They're cowards." And I was like, "All right, fair enough." And I remember there was another time as well. I just happened to be doing a bulletin. I did a bulletin. I was working for News Talk, and we used to do like the local radio news service. So like we'll do like it would go out on all the local networks across the country. And I can't remember what the story was, but I read out some headline in the sports news, and it went big on Radio Kerry. And they were like, there's a man up there, and he's Richard Chambers, and he was saying this about our footballers. And I was like, I didn't know why am I getting called out here? I'm just reading someone's script here for the sports headlines. Weeshy Fogarty, one of the great legends of Irish broadcasting, is tearing me strips off me on the radio. Like, you know, it's great. I love it. The passion is amazing.
Come here, Richard. I'm a huge fan of was a huge fan of Vincent Brown.
Yes, what a man.
What a man. And I think since he's retired, there's been a bit of a gap in the market. I think people have impressed me definitely in terms of filling in his shoes, but I don't want to put you on the spot in terms of naming people, but do you think that like there's anyone there to fill in the shoes as mad and scatty and challenging as Vincent was?
There's nobody like Vincent Brown. There just isn't, because that's a unique style of person. Like, if you're asking me who I think are like the closest and the best sort of TV sort of interviewers like that, Sarah McInerney is brilliant.
Absolutely.
I think Claire Brock can do it is brilliant as well. I think it is interesting. I'm trying to think who could do that job.
I would love a questions and answers kind of reading, and Sarah McInerney to be the host, because I think not to put down any other journalist or broadcaster or whatever, I just think she's the best at the moment. I think Gav Riley is quite good as well.
Yeah, Gav is brilliant. Yeah.
I'm with you on the Claire Brock one. She's formidable. Like, she's absolutely like as. I'm a bit of a TV star myself, lads. Look, I don't like to talk about it, but I had to. I met Claire Brock as a result of my TV stardom, and I was
start of Gogglebox Ireland.
I was genuinely, I was genuinely a bit kind of, because it was Claire that was going to ask us a couple of questions, but because I've only ever seen Claire Brock, and she's just chatting normal, and I'm like, what's when's she gonna ask about me taxes or something? Something's not right here. Like,
there's gotta be. There's something coming. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So she has a presence, as they say.
Yes.
Would it be something you'd like to go into, Richard?
I don't know. Like, people always ask me what I want to do, like, down the road, and I love being out and about. That's brilliant. Like, I always want to be doing new things. So, like, I think you'll see now. This is a bit of a hint now. You'll see more stuff now. I have a couple of projects I'll be working on now over the next little while, which you'll see me doing stuff you haven't seen me do before anyway. So there'll be a few little bits like that which will be coming out and about.
WTS exclusive, Richard Chamber, Dancing with the Stars. Can't wait.
This is it. Yeah. Dancing on ice. It beckons. I've seen the light, and I'm going to slide my arse around on the ice. It's written in the stars. It's the job I was meant to do.
Would you do a stint abroad?
I've never gone abroad. It was always something I was really interested in doing. It was like, and I was like, actually, here's a story. It's one of the worst things I ever did. I interviewed for a job in the BBC once, and I went over to London. I was so excited, and I was like, this is it, finally. Like, I'm gonna go over there. And I was at I was kind of probably at a low-ish ebb in my career over here. Like, I wasn't loving. I was sort of out of love a little bit with journalism, and sort of just was a bit disillusioned and just down in the dumps. So I went over there, and I was like, oh, here's my path out of there. So I had my suit on and all that sort of stuff. And you arrive in like Broadcasting House, BBC, and you're like, wow, this is unbelievable. Think about the people who've come through these halls and all that sort of stuff. And like, I'd boned up, I'd done like great sort of interview prep and all that sort of stuff. And I got the earliest flight over from Dublin to Heathrow, got straight in, all that sort of stuff. And I went into the room, and there's a panel interviewing me. And they were like, we're going to start with a round of questions. And I just don't know what happened. I couldn't land a single one. And like I just got so shaken up by it. I was in the middle of it and I just couldn't put thoughts together. And it's when you know really quickly that it hasn't gone exactly as you planned, and then you let it take over you. And you're like, no, this is pointless. I just want to leave now. Just want to leave. And I was like, it gets that point where I don't know if you've ever had a job interview. You're sitting there in your suit and you feel your collar is getting tight.
Sweating.
You're sweating. You are sweating. And you're like, oh my God, these people think I'm an idiot now. And I came all this way and I did this and I did that. And I prepared this portfolio of all these great reports I'd done and all that sort of stuff. And it's just like, oh my gosh. And like, they're actually like it's like, well, they're not idiots. So they were like, yeah, you've done a bad interview here, right? Like, you know, I mean, they could tell that I was like really like visibly just upset by it. And I was just like, they were just like, look, sorry, that's really tough. Like, we'd love to, if you want to come over again, we'll see what the next job is coming up and all that sort of stuff. It just didn't happen. And after that point, I sort of fell into, it was before, it wasn't too long now before I ended up in Virgin. So things work out, obviously, as well. But like, oh my God, I just like, that's my bad leaving cert dream. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it is for me, is just sitting there, like, just pacing around London after a bad interview with the BBC, like, terrible.
A horror interview is a war story that I think everyone should have one. But like, it's
you haven't lived the workplace, or you haven't tested yourself until you've been grilled and smashed into 1,000 pieces.
My worst one was when I lived in Australia. I went for an interview with Greenpeace.
Oh my God!
Go on. What happened?
I was living in Brisbane and I had no work, and my ex-girlfriend got work straight away. And I was like, oh, I'm going for any interviews, I'm going for any amount of jobs, and the Greenpeace one propped up. Nothing else to be doing on my day anyway. So I went for the interview and got to the last round. And I froze in the last round of the interview when he asked me to sell a pen to him. Sell this biro to me.
Was it fucking Jordan Belfort, was it?
Oh, who was this? Yeah.
Brutal.
The Wall Street and Greenpeace. Like,
the round before it, we had to approach people and try and sell 5 kind of packages to save dolphins or something like that.
Was it a job as like a chugger? Were you going to be a chugger, were you?
No, it was on the street sales.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't get it in the end because I just froze about the selling of the pen. I was like, what the fuck am I supposed? I was stuttering. I was like, oh, it's a blue pen. It does a great signature.
That's tough. That is tough.
That is, to be fair. That is.
Yeah.
And this is long before I had even seen Wolf of Wall Street or The Pen or whatever.
It wouldn't have helped you anyway. Let me
No. What has this got to do with saving the bleeding whales?
Yeah, I'm here to protect those damn dolphins.
Yeah.
Forget about the stupid pen.
You just wanted to be put on a boat so you could ram one of the Japanese whale hunters, didn't you? That's all you were interested in, man. Do you know
that's
what I mean?
really exciting. Yeah. Like that's what you were made for. None of this sort of pen sale selling, like, you know.
My horror interview was an online interview. I remember, I think I told you about.
This is brilliant. So is this a South African rugby?
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, right. So I was fresh out of college, masters in journalism, thinking I am it. I'm on my way to a fucking Pulitzer. I'm fucking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'd done a little bit of freelance for ESPN Scrum, and I was like, fucking sports journalism, excellent. And I see a job come up with a well-known rugby publication for a Northern Hemisphere rugby correspondent. Yes, okay. Throw me hat in the ring, get the interview. The interview is over Skype because the guy doing is based in South Africa. No bother at all. So I'm ahead of me time, ahead of this whole working from home curve. I am business on top, jocks on bottom, because he won't be able to see. So everything's grand and rosy. And he's chatting away to me doing the interview, and I'm like, this is going all right. And then it's a Northern Hemisphere rugby correspondent gig, and out of nowhere he goes, so what can you tell me about South African varsity? And I just went,
oh, man,
what?
No.
Just completely, I was like, what? And that was my actual reaction. He goes, yeah, South African varsity. I was like, I definitely know more about the Northern Hemisphere. And he's like, so you don't know anything about South Africa?
Oh, man.
And the only word I could actually, I just said, Stellenbosch. That's the only thing. And he just went, yeah. And I was like,
that's it. What do you want?
Like literally, and like it's just, and
you heard my answer. Yeah,
he's not giving me anything. Like he's not prompting me. He's not, saying anything.
That's
he's
so
just
tough.
That's
and I'm
rough.
just like, yeah, no, just over and over again. And all I keep saying is, like, this for the Northern Hemisphere rugby, though, isn't it? I mean, I can't remember its exact phrase, but it was basically, if you don't know global rugby, you don't know rugby. So I'm afraid this interview is over.
And you're a good waffler, like, as well.
I'm fucking expert level spoofer, right? And he just goes, so this interview is over, and I see him do this. Like, I can see it. Right? So he presses the button, and on Skype all you hear is little bloop bloop bloop.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there in me undercrackers and a suit, and I'm like,
that's unbelievable.
What the fuck
I can't believe the drama of this interview is over and the button press. That's excellent. Like, just to see somebody just smash your dreams in such a visual sort of fashion.
That's it. Yeah. So whenever I get a bout of imposter syndrome, that's what fuels it. It all comes back to that one little fucking image of your man pressing the button. It's just.
I have just a horrible track record of interviews. Anyway, like the first ever job interview I did was for pennies. When I was looking for a job when I was in school, and I think I make the mistake of over researching. So I was like I hadn't a clue about job interviews. I was a clown, like just a young fella who was looking for money on the side. So it was like it was pennies in the pavilions and swords, and I was just like, yeah, I better learn up and what should I learn about? What should I research? And my mom was like, learn about the different brands and all that sort of stuff, the different labels. It's like, yeah, that's a good idea. So I wrote all these things down. I just went in. I must have sounded like an absolute clown. They just wanted to know if I could sell clothes and that I'd reliable. And I'd turn up and I was like, yeah, I'm a big fan of your Cedarwood State line. Big, really good. I love the vision of this. I'm literally doing the most basic job in the world. Why am I talking about this? Like,
they're just about to hand you a t-shirt and be like, can you fold this though, Richard?
Yeah.
Can you fold this t-shirt?
Big picture here, lads. Yeah. Let me talk strategy. Put me on to your boss. Yeah, I'm gonna take pennies into strange new places. So, I was such an idiot. Such an idiot for all sort of things.
Love it, man. Love it. It's God, job interviews are, and the weird thing is at the moment, because it seems like everyone is transferring jobs and changing jobs. It's
a good time to do it. Like, I mean, if you're at that sort of point in your life, and like the whole pandemic thing is changing, all that sort of stuff, and you're like, oh, what do I really want to do? Great chance, great opportunity to just switch gears, change lanes. But God, I wouldn't fancy too many more job interviews.
No, definitely not. No, I think a lot of people got it right when they just said, "Feck the 9 to 5, I'm opening a food truck." Game ball.
Love that.
Game ball for that, man.
If I ever get tired of journalism, that's what I'm going to do. It'll be a Mexican food truck, which will be cruising around League of Ireland grounds, like,
Chambers and churros, I can see it now.
Daily Mount, like, like, here, do you pay your fees? Yeah, so I'll be outside Tallaght Stadium. I'll probably spike the food or something like that. Like,
definitely do. Definitely do.
Players.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
What would your food truck be? Richie's going Mexican. What are you going?
Korean.
Oh, that's a good shout.
Korean barbecue.
Man. That is a good shout.
Undervalued in the Irish marketplace as well,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's solid, man.
During the pandemic, there was one truck up in one of the car parks of the pub, and it was just absolute. The chef actually does be on.
Boys Boy, Kwangi. Is that it?
Kwangi, yeah.
I'm probably not pronouncing his name right, but yes. Oh my God, the chicken.
He's always
burger.
On the 6 o'clock show cooking. Oh, it's absolutely sensational. Do you know what's sensational? Actually, Shimak. Is that what it's called?
Oh yes. They're on Georgia Street. The Korean sort of fried chicken. Unbelievable.
Sublime. Absolutely sublime.
Yeah, 10 o'clock at night isn't a good time to start talking about fried chicken. I'm living.
It's hitting the Deliveroo straight away.
Exactly. I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, of course it's perfectly okay to eat a snack box at 11:30. Sure, why not? Like,
don't look at me. Just don't look at me. Yeah. Turn off the camera.
Yeah. I don't know. But that was a very quick hour of your time, Richard Chambers. But I really appreciate it and enjoyed the chat all the same.
You're a gentleman. Thank you so much for your
No, lads, I'm delighted we finally got around to doing it. And like, no, any other time, just let me know. Let's crack it out again.
Definitely. We'll next time I don't know, talk about WrestleMania and Stone Cold Steve Austin for an hour.
See, this is the thing. I can't believe now. Before we started recording, we had some great sort of like wrestler age trivia, which sounds like the dullest thing in the world. But that's where that's yeah. My repeat appearance is going to be just pure guess the age of this wrestler.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's 100% it. And then dream matches will be our third appearance. That's the avenue.
That's the hat trick appearance, like
exactly. Yeah.
And then favorite Royal Rumble.
Oh,
favorite Royal Rumble.
What was the one where Kane put everybody over? Like he was just chucking left, right, and center.
He eliminated like 11 people or something. Anyone that moved, he was just lobbing them over.
That was good stuff.
Then Lesnar was in it last year, and he was just demolishing people.
The new Brock Lesnar is hilarious.
He's the funniest man alive.
Brock Lesnar's amazing. He's just great, like.
Yeah.
Unreal, like.
Did you see him on the Pat McAfee show?
I saw a couple of clips now. I was flicking around on TikTok there, and I just saw people. I just find them endlessly entertaining. Like
49 minutes of hilarity. It is.
Yeah, I must watch him.
He does a Stone Cold impression and everything. It's on YouTube. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's gold. Especially for
the next guest.
Yeah.
15
years or whatever, we've all just assumed he was silent. Do you know?
That he was just this piece of ginormous meat, and now he just has this like. Just loves a bit of fishing, living up in Saskatchewan, like, you know, like in just hunting and wearing ridiculous clobber and
and a ponytail.
What a lad! What an absolute lad! Like
Pat McAfee asks him, "What's the story of the top knot?" And he said, "Oh, my kids bet me that I wouldn't grow one." So I said, "Fuck you, I'm growing one." So he grew a top knot.
That's the only justification I could see for it, like, you know.
And his wife is Sable.
Oh, that's right. Jesus Christ. Yeah. The trivia, man. The trivia we have with this.
This is it, yeah. And
you can learn stuff on this podcast, you know.
It won't help you in any job interviews, but you'll definitely learn something.
You never know. It would have been more handy than some of the stuff I have said in previous interviews.
Deadly. Well, Richie, thanks a million again. Really appreciate your time. Mero, if people want to listen to the 270-something previous episodes before this one, where can they go to?
They can go to WTSpod.com or search WTS Pod on any podcast provider.
That'll do the job. Nice and easy. Yeah. Right, lads. I'm going to order a snack box. I'm starving. So.
Good luck.
Enjoy.
Thanks so much, Richard.
All the best.
Until next time, everybody. Clear eyes.
All hearts.
And lose. Too sweet.